Valentine's Day always felt like a performance. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the red lace dress my husband, Eric, bought me last year. He thought it was my favorite. He thought a lot of things about me. I smiled at my reflection, a practiced smile, the kind that said I was the perfect wife with the perfect marriage. But deep inside, my heart pounded for a very different reason. Tonight, I wasn't going to dinner with Eric. I had no intention of sitting through another predictable meal at that fancy steakhouse we always went to on special occasions. No, tonight I had plans that I couldn't even say out loud. "You look beautiful, babe," Eric said, stepping into the bedroom, his eyes warm and familiar as he slipped his arms around my waist from behind. I forced myself to lean into him, feeling the solid weight of his love, the comfort of his touch, and the suffocating guilt it brought with it. "Thank you," I whispered, turning my head to press a quick kiss to his cheek. The lie was already forming on my lips. "I'm so sorry, but I just got a message from work. There's an emergency with the end-of-quarter reports. I have to stop by the office, but it shouldn't take long." I felt him stiffen slightly, disappointment flickering across his face before he covered it up with a smile. "On Valentine's Day? Really?" "I know. Baby, I'm so sorry," I said, my voice dripping with false regret. "I promise I won't be long. We'll have our special night, I swear." Eric, ever the understanding husband, kissed my forehead and nodded. "Okay, just hurry back. I'll keep the champagne cold." I grabbed my coat, heart racing as I walked out the door, the cool night air hitting me like a slap, a sobering reminder of what I was about to do. But the thrill, the anticipation, was stronger than the guilt. My car was already pointed toward the office, but that wasn't where I was going. The real destination was the hotel downtown. The same hotel my boss, David, had booked for us. As I drove, my phone buzzed on the passenger seat. A message from Mark. "Room 803. Can't wait to see you." I swallowed hard, desire and danger intertwining in my veins. I knew this was wrong. I knew I was risking everything. But the pull was irresistible. David had a way of making me feel alive, seen and wanted, in ways Eric hadn't in years. If you want more secrets as scandalous as this, make sure to like and subscribe. You won't believe what happens next. I checked my lipstick in the rearview mirror, fixing a stray hair and inhaling deeply, preparing myself for what was to come. Tonight, I wasn't the perfect wife. Tonight, I was someone else entirely. The moment I stepped into the dimly lit office, I felt the tension settle deep in my chest. The city lights outside glowed against the windows, casting long shadows across the room. A bottle of red wine sat open on my boss's sleek mahogany desk, 2 glasses already poured. The scent of expensive cologne and leather filled the air. I swallowed hard. This was wrong, so wrong. And yet, as soon as I saw him leaning against the desk, watching me with that knowing smirk, every ounce of guilt melted into something far more dangerous. "Happy Valentine's Day," he murmured, holding up a glass. I hesitated, but only for a second. "You're ridiculous," I whispered, stepping forward and taking the drink. Ridiculous? Or irresistible? I rolled my eyes, but we both knew the answer. It hadn't started this way. At first, he was just my boss, tall, confident, powerful. The kind of man who commanded a room without even trying. He saw things in me that I didn't see in myself. He praised my work, made me feel important, special. The flirting had been harmless. A lingering glance here, a teasing remark there. I told myself it was nothing. I was married after all. But then came the late-night meetings, the shared secrets, the touches that lasted a second too long. By the time I realized what was happening, I was already in too deep. And now, here I was on Valentine's night in his office, letting him pull me into his arms while my husband sat at home believing I was working late. He kissed me slowly, as if savoring every second. My heart pounded, and I let myself get lost in it. The way his hands traced my body, the way his lips left fire in their wake. I should have pulled away. I should have stopped this before it went too far. But I didn't. I let him lead me to the couch, where the lines between right and wrong blurred until they didn't exist at all. Then, just as we caught our breath, my phone vibrated against the glass table. I ignored it at first, but then it buzzed again. And again. My stomach twisted. I reached for it, my hands slightly shaking. 3 missed calls. 1 message. Husband, everything okay? I miss you. Can't wait to see you tonight. The air in the room suddenly felt too thick, too hot. My boss, still lying beside me, smirked as he ran his fingers down my arm. You're thinking too much again. I forced a smile, but my mind was racing. I needed to go. I needed to get home before the lies unraveled completely. But as I gathered my things, he grabbed my wrist, pulling me back down for one last, lingering kiss. You'll see me again soon, he murmured. It wasn't a question. It was a promise. I should have said no. I should have ended it right there. But I didn't. And that was my biggest mistake. If you think the stakes are high now, just wait. Hit like and subscribe because things are about to explode. I drove home with my heart pounding against my ribs, my fingers gripping the steering wheel so tightly they ached. Every red light, every slow-moving car felt like another chance for my sins to catch up with me. My husband was waiting. He had called. He had texted. I had ignored him. I forced myself to breathe. I had done this before. I knew the routine. I could still make this right, or at least make it believable. As I pulled into the driveway, the house looked exactly as I had left it, warm, welcoming, a picture of everything my life was supposed to be. The porch light was on, casting a golden glow over the front steps. Through the window, I could see my husband sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone. The second I opened the door, his head snapped up. "You're home late," he said, standing. There was no accusation in his voice, but something about the way he looked at me made my stomach twist. I set my bag down and gave him the best tired smile I could muster. You know how it is. Deadlines. Meetings. Bosses who don't respect personal time. He walked toward me, wrapping his arms around my waist. I was starting to think you got sick of me and ran off. He laughed, but I could feel his nose against my hair, inhaling. I held my breath. You smell different, he said suddenly, pulling back just enough to study my face. My heart nearly stopped. Think. I forced a sheepish laugh and pulled away, stepping toward the kitchen like I hadn't just barely dodged disaster. Yeah, my boss spilled coffee on me. I had to borrow a jacket from someone. You like it? I gestured at my blazer, one I had thrown on just before leaving the office. His eyes lingered on me for a second too long. Then, finally, he smiled. Well, you look beautiful, no matter what you wear. Relief flooded through me so fast my knees nearly buckled. As I poured myself a glass of water, my phone buzzed on the counter. I didn't think. I just reached for it. And then I froze. Boss. Can't stop thinking about tonight. When can I see you again? Panic shot through me. My husband was right there, just a few feet away. He could see my face. He could hear my heartbeat if he listened closely enough. I turned my phone over so fast it nearly fell out of my hands. Who's that? My husband asked, glancing up from the couch. Just work, I said, my voice perfectly even. They always need something. He chuckled. They really should pay you more for all the extra hours you put in. If only he knew. I excused myself and hurried to the bathroom, locking the door behind me before grabbing my phone. My fingers shook as I typed. Me, are you crazy? Do not text me like this. Boss, relax. He's not going to check your phone. Unless he has a reason to? I stared at the words, my pulse hammering. This was dangerous. Too dangerous. And yet, I didn't tell him to stop. I didn't end it. Instead, I deleted the messages, took a deep breath, and stared at my reflection in the mirror. I still looked like me, but I wasn't the same woman I used to be. I wasn't just a wife anymore. I was a liar, a cheater, a woman walking on a wire that was fraying beneath her feet. And it was only a matter of time before I fell. The days after Valentine's night felt like a slow, torturous countdown to disaster. Every moment spent with my husband felt heavier, like the weight of my lies was pressing down harder with each passing second. He didn't know. Not yet. But something had shifted. I could feel his eyes lingering on me longer, searching for something I prayed he wouldn't find. I told myself I was imagining it, that I still had control. But deep down, I knew I was losing my grip. One morning, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror, staring at the woman I had become. Dark circles under my eyes. A forced smile. A wife who was supposed to be faithful, but whose body still burned with the memory of another man's touch. I ran my fingers through my hair, exhaling shakily. Get it together. As I walked into the kitchen, my husband was already there, sipping coffee, scrolling through his phone. Morning, I said, forcing normalcy into my voice. Morning, he murmured, not looking up. The silence felt off. I grabbed a mug and poured myself coffee, pretending not to notice the way his eyes flicked up from his phone, studying me. Then he asked the one question I wasn't ready for. Are you happy? The mug nearly slipped from my fingers. I turned slowly, heart pounding. What? He was watching me now, his expression unreadable. I don't know. Lately, you've seemed distant. He set his phone down. If something's wrong, you can tell me. My mouth went dry. Lie. Just lie. I let out a soft laugh, walking over and pressing a quick kiss to his cheek. I'm fine. Just work stress, that's all. I felt his body relax slightly under my touch. He wanted to believe me. He needed to. But doubt had already crept in, and I had put it there. Later that day, my boss called me into his office. I knew I should have stayed away, but I didn't. He smirked the second I walked in, shutting the door behind me. Missed me? I crossed my arms, ignoring the way my pulse quickened. We need to be more careful. He leaned against his desk, arms folded. Now you're worried? I'm serious, I snapped. He's starting to notice things. If I slip up, you won't. His confidence was infuriating and intoxicating. Then, before I could stop him, he reached for me, his fingers grazing my wrist, sending sparks of betrayal and desire through my skin. I should have pulled away, but I didn't. Instead, I let him push me back against the door, his lips grazing my neck. We should get away, he murmured. A weekend. Just us. I stiffened. Are you insane? Think about it. His voice was smooth, persuasive. Somewhere far. No hiding. No sneaking around. No lies. I almost laughed. That was impossible. But for one reckless moment, I imagined it. A life where I didn't have to look over my shoulder. Where I could be with him without the weight of my marriage crushing me. And that thought terrified me. I shoved him back. I can't. This is already too risky. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. Fine. But don't pretend you don't want more. I didn't answer, because I didn't trust myself to tell the truth. That night, I sat on the couch with my husband, pretending to watch TV. My body was there, but my mind was somewhere else. And that's when I made my biggest mistake yet. I wasn't thinking. I was too tired, too distracted. And when I turned to him, the words slipped out before I could stop them. Did you want me to pick something up for Mark tomorrow? Silence. A cold, deadly silence. His brows furrowed. Who's Mark? My stomach dropped. My boss's name was Mark. I meant to say my coworker's name. The one I had been complaining about earlier. The one I had meant to use to keep my story straight. But I had said the wrong name. My husband's eyes darkened, and I saw it. The first crack in my perfectly built lie. I forced a nervous laugh, trying to recover. Oh. I meant Matt. I don't know why I said that. He didn't say anything. He just nodded slowly, his gaze locked onto mine like he was seeing me, really seeing me for the first time in weeks. The air in the room was suffocating. I smiled, kissed his cheek, and excused myself for bed. But as I lay there, staring at the ceiling, I knew. This was it. The walls were starting to crumble. And when they finally collapsed, I would have nowhere to run. If you think the stakes are high now, just wait. Hit like and subscribe because things are about to explode. The morning after my slip-up, I woke up feeling sick. Not from illness, but from something far worse, fear. I turned my head slightly, watching my husband sleep beside me. His face was peaceful, but I knew better. I had seen the way he looked at me last night after I said the wrong name. The way his jaw tightened, the way his eyes darkened. He was suspicious. And I was running out of time. I went through the day pretending everything was fine. Kissed my husband goodbye, drove to work, and told myself I still had control. I didn't. At lunch, I got a text. "Mark, we need to talk. Now." My heart skipped a beat. I stepped out of the office and called him. "What's wrong?" His voice was tight. "Did you say something to your husband?" Ice filled my veins. "What?" "No." "Why?" A pause. "Then, he knows." I felt the ground tilt beneath me. "That's impossible." "It's not," Mark said. He showed up at my office. Asked me if something was going on between us. I gripped the phone, my breath coming short. "What did you say?" I denied it, obviously. But he didn't look convinced. Panic wrapped around my throat. "No, no, no." "I have to go," I whispered, hanging up. I needed to get home. Now. The house was eerily quiet when I walked in. My husband sat at the kitchen table, staring down at his phone. Waiting. For me. I set my bag down carefully. "Hey?" "Nothing." Then, slowly, he lifted his gaze. My stomach twisted. He knew. He knew. "Did you have a good day?" he asked, voice too calm. I forced a smile. "Yeah. Just busy." Silence. Then, he slid his phone across the table. "I got a message today." My fingers trembled as I reached for it. "Anonymous. Your wife has been cheating on you with her boss. Ask her about Valentine's night." My blood went cold. He stared at me, eyes burning. "Tell me it's not true." I opened my mouth, but no words came out, because there was nothing left to say. Tears welled in my eyes. "I'm sorry." His jaw clenched. "So it's true." I swallowed hard. Yes. The betrayal in his eyes broke something inside me. I had done this. I had destroyed him. "Was it worth it?" he asked, voice shaking. "Throwing away everything we built." I wiped my tears. "I don't know." And that was the truth. He didn't yell. He didn't scream. He just stood up, grabbed his keys, and walked out the door. I sank to the floor, my whole body trembling. It was over. The life I had built, the lies I had told, the game I had played. I had lost. 2 days later, I got another text. From Mark. "Mark, you should see this." Attached was a picture. My husband, sitting across from another woman, holding her hand. And suddenly, I realized I wasn't the only one keeping secrets. If you thought this was wild, just wait until you hear the next story. Like and subscribe for more shocking betrayals.